Hello and welcome to Adobe Live here on Behance. So my name is Aaron Nace of Learn.com. Welcome to Lightroom Bootcamp. This is day 4. We're going to be editing photos on the go. That means on our phones, on our tablets, and you're going to see the amazing way at which everything that we've been learning all along these 3 days syncs to your mobile device. The functionality, of course, on the desktop, it's kind of expected that we'd be able to have a very powerful editing tool. But the fact that we can translate all of those editing features to our mobile devices, to me, really takes things over the top. I'm so excited for today. Now, if you're joining us on any other platform besides Behance, be sure to head on over so you can join us in the chat, the best part of a live broadcast. Speaking of the chat, it's so awesome to see you guys. Hey, Richard, Thomas, so good to see you. Steve, Oliver, Wade, what's up? Lisa Carney in the house. Moat Avoid. So awesome to have you guys joining us today. We've got a lot of great things to go over. So we're going to be starting in Lightroom on the desktop. So let's go ahead to Lightroom on the desktop. I want to show you kind of how the transition works from Lightroom on desktop to Lightroom on mobile. So let's go ahead and start with an edit. And we have a situation we're going to say, like, let's say we start an edit. Okay, so love this image. Let's go to our editing tools right here on the right-hand side. Okay, and then maybe I decide I want to bring a little bit more focus to my subject. So I'm going to add a radial gradient here, and then I'm going to invert that gradient, and then we're just going to bring our exposure down just a little bit. And look at this. I'm just going to hit the slash key here on my keyboard so we can see that before and after. All right. Let's go ahead and get out of there, and then we're going to go back to our grid view. So this situation that we're presenting is, here I am in the middle of editing my photos, and let's say someone calls and says, hey, you got to come over to this thing that we're doing. I've got to leave, but I've got images that I need to deliver to my client. So I've got a little bit of downtime. I'm forced to leave my desktop, but I still have work that I need to do. So this is when I want to start picking things up on my mobile device. So basically, here's the workflow. Everything that I'm doing here on my desktop automatically translates to the mobile device. So let's go ahead and we're going to switch the screen now to my mobile device. So let's go ahead and change the screen recording. There we go. Fantastic. And there we go. Now we are on my mobile device. Now we have the exact same catalog here on my mobile device as what I just had on my computer. And if I look at this image, check this out. If I press and hold on the image, you can see the before and the after, just like we were seeing on mobile. So although I was in the middle of editing, I got interrupted, I got to go do something else, I can now pick up on my phone. Let's say I'm in the car or on the bus or the train or the airplane, whatever. I can continue editing here on my phone exactly where I left off. And this to me is like absolute gold. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to hit export and upload and do all this stuff. It just automatically does it. So let's go ahead and kind of show you around the program on the phone. So on the very bottom, we have all of the same tools that we have on Lightroom for the desktop. So let's go ahead and click here on the bottom left for masking. Now I'm going to just pull this mask out so you can see it where it says create new mask. I have my mask 1 already here. So if I press and hold there, you can see I can add, subtract, hide. I can even invert it. So let's go ahead and click there, and we can see with our light, maybe I think that, yeah, maybe I like that vignette that I added. Maybe I'll do it a little bit more. That looks really good. Now, let's go ahead and click this checkbox on the bottom right there. And I want to do a little bit more masking. So let's go to my plus icon there. And I want to add some shadow to the bottom. So let's click on this plus icon for the mask. And in this case, we're just going to grab a linear gradient. So let's grab there, hit create, and I'm just going to click and drag out from the bottom, just like this. I want to bring a bit more attention to my subject. So with that, now you can see all these tools on the bottom have changed, and these are going to be specific to my mask. So I'm going to hit light, and we're just going to go and bring our exposure down just a little bit. Again, I just want to focus a little bit more on my subject and hit that checkbox. Now we're looking pretty good. I can change these things at any time, both on my phone and on the computer. Or if I have an iPad or another tablet, that's so cool. Now, it also includes all of the new AI masks. So let's go ahead and we're just going to drag this masking feature out. Let's click and drag that. We're going to hit create a new mask, and we're going to go to select a subject. You can see it detects our subject. There we go. Boom. And now I'm able to change all of these things. So I'm going to go to my lights, and we're just going to bring our shadow level and kind of like bring that up a little bit, just so the shadows aren't as dark on my subject. And I think that's looking fantastic. So at this point, I'm pretty happy with this edit. So we started it on the desktop and seamlessly continued it here on mobile. Now, let's say I want to do one more thing. I want to add a little bit of color to this. I want to kind of color tone this. So I'm going to go where we have our color. Down at the bottom, you see we have masking, healing, crop, presets, auto, light, and color. Let's go to our color, okay? And then I'm going to click where it says grading. So this is the same color grading that we had on our desktop. I can kind of scroll through my shadows, midtones, and our highlights. So let's go into our shadows here. I'm going to pull the shadows just a little bit cooler. I think that's looking really nice. And then let's go into our highlights, and I'm going to just pull those a little bit warmer. There we are. Now I'm going to hit done here. Keep in mind at any time, you can just press and hold right here on the photo and see the before and after. So this is the before and that's the after. I think this is a really good looking edit. So what I want to do now, I'm going to hit this back button. And as you'll notice, I'm just going to zoom in here. There we go. Let's go ahead and find those same photos. I actually have two photos of this same person. Now, I want to sync these. We've learned how to do that on the desktop. The coolest thing was we can actually do that here on mobile as well. So let's go ahead and click on the first photo. Okay. And then all the way down here in the bottom, you can kind of scroll to the left and the right to see all of these tools. This is like legit professional editing on the phone. I'm just blown away by this. So let's go ahead, and I just want to like copy some of these settings. So we can see all of our settings that we can actually edit are right here on the bottom. And on the very right top side, if you ever can't find something in the Lightroom app, be sure to click on this little button right here that just looks like a ... That's always going to be your menu. That's where you can access more settings. So I'm going to go to copy settings. There we go. So we're going to copy these settings, and now I can actually select what I would like to copy. And I'm just going to choose them all. Why not? I want the masking in there. I want to see what it does. We're going to put it to a challenge. So let's go ahead and hit this little checkbox there, up there, and go back. And now I'm going to go to the second photo in this series. Let's go ahead and paste those settings on there. So let's go to this ... up on the very top right, and we're going to hit paste settings. And as we can see, it's pasted. Now, here's one thing. We're going to click on masking, and it does tell us that subject 1 needs to be recomputed. So I'm going to hit update. It's going to detect that subject. And you remember we brought up the shadow values for that subject, and that's looking really good. Now, in this case, I think this linear gradient that I put on there, maybe just a little bit too strong. So I'm going to bring that down and hit light, and we're just going to make that not as intense. You can see I can brighten up or even darken down that corner. There we go. That looks fantastic. Hit that checkbox, and then both of those photos in the series look really good. You know what? In fact, we're going to go back in here, click on masking one more time. I'm just going to go to the original kind of like radial gradient that I made for a vignette. There we go. And I'm going to adjust that. We're going to go back to light, and I'm going to make it not so dark because this photo already was a little bit darker. Let's hit that checkbox on the bottom and then go back and check that out. So let's say we had a little bit of time. We're good to go. Now I want to see what this looks like on my computer. So literally, I'm just going to hit a new screen share. We're going to go back to Adobe Lightroom and hit share. There we go. Let's go back to our grid view here. And all I have to do is double click on this photo, and it's going to automatically update. Sometimes it takes just a second, depending on your cloud services. Sometimes what you can do is you can just click on your little cloud icon on your mobile device. There we go. Let's just switch back to the mobile device so you guys can see it, just so we can work through a little bit of troubleshooting. Here we go. Because it is uploading it to the cloud. There we go. So if it takes a second, that's totally okay. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and resume that share there. So you can see right up here at the top, I've clicked on my photo, okay? And then we have this cloud icon, ... and it says it's uploading right there. So it's just uploading, and it's gonna automatically change that on my desktop or any of my mobile devices. This is an amazing workflow. All this just happens in the background. We don't have to worry about it at all. And once it gets a little bit of better internet connection, it's going to upload and we are good to go. So now that we have the capability of editing, and you can see these same photos that I've been working on this entire time, we have the capability to edit these on our phone and our mobile device. So let's move into our next series of photos. We're going to go ahead and click on this photo. I think it looks fantastic. The only thing is that my subject, the shadows are just a little bit dark. I'd like to brighten those shadows up a little bit and then maybe darken down our background. So we're going to move into masking again. Let's click on this plus icon and we're going to go to select subject again. It's going to detect our subject. There we go. Create our mask for us. We're going to go into light. And then I'm just going to bring up our exposure just a little bit. That did make the highlights a little bit bright. So let's take the highlights and drag those back down again. Again, this is only affecting our subject now. Okay, and let's bring our shadows up just a little bit more as well. I think that's looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and hit that checkbox. Now let's say we want to make our background a little bit darker. Well, we're going to go back into the masking. I'm going to click on this plus where it says create new mask. Let's click there. And this time we're going to go back to select subject, but I'm going to invert it. Okay, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can click here on the left. There's actually an invert mask icon. Okay, or you can click where it says ... Always click those ... because there's a lot of good hidden gems in there. And here we're just going to go to invert mask 2, and that's going to now select the background. And then I can go back into my light and kind of bring the exposure down just a little bit for that subject. This is looking really good. Let's go ahead and hit that checkbox. I'm going to work a little bit on our color. Okay, I'm going to bring this just a little bit cooler in color temperature. It was just a little bit warm for me. Fantastic. And let's go ahead and add a little bit of color grading to this as well. So let's go ahead for our shadows. Here we go. I want to bring our shadows, there we go, a little bit towards the red side. I think that's looking really good. And then our midtones and our highlights. There we go. And the fun thing about this is you can kind of just click and drag and see where you want to take something. Let's hit done. All right. Now at this point, all I have to do is press and hold on my photo and I can see the before and after. Look at that. That's an amazing change. I think our image is looking really, really good. The fact that I can do this on mobile just blows me away. So again, I want to hit this ... on the very top right because I want to copy these settings. Oops. There we go. We want to copy those settings. Go ahead and include masking, hit that checkbox. And then I have more images in that same series. So we're going to go on the very top right, ... paste settings. Okay. And then I go into my masking and I'm just going to say update my AI masking. It's going to find my subject, go ahead and brighten my subject and darken my background. All right. This is such a great way to create a series of photos and have everything look like it's, basically, because all the time we're just shooting a bunch of images in the same location, right? So if you edit one, you want to be able to apply the same things to a bunch of different photos. And this is such an easy way to do it. There we go, detecting our subject and perfect. Applied that to the subject. Now we just need to click on this one because it didn't find the subject. There we go. Just auto update that. And that looks fantastic. Let's go ahead and hit that checkbox and we are good to go. Look at this. Now all these photos look fantastic and they're visible to us in a series. So great. Now jumping back in into the questions. Fantastic. Some people are asking about colors looking slightly different on the phone as opposed to your computer. And that's a really good question. Oftentimes when I'm editing, I like to look at my images both on the computer and on my mobile device, just to make sure they do look properly, like they look well calibrated on both. But I do have a tip for you when exporting your photos. So let's go into this photo that we just looked at. Now, when you want to put your photos online, you have to keep in mind that there are a bunch of different types of color spaces on for photo editing. But when you're going to put your photos online, the internet uses a color space called sRGB to read your colors. So I suggest exporting your photos as sRGB. So let's go ahead and show you how to export this out. Let's say we're good with this photo. We want to go ahead and put it on social media. We want to make sure the colors are correct. So up here on the very top right, I can click on my export item. There we go. Now I have a lot of different options here. I can hit share to, I can get a link to this so I don't even have to publish it online. or like send it to any of my social media services. People can just view this image directly with a link. I can open it in a different program. I can just export it as my camera roll or put it in my files. And then I can also on the very bottom, click export as. So let's go ahead and click there. There we are. Now export as, this allows us, we can choose to export it as a JPEG, as a TIFF, as a DNG. This is amazing. We can change our dimensions. We can include a watermark if we want to. And if I go to more options, this is where we have the ability for our color space. So if you want to make sure that something shows properly on the web, you want to make sure that you export it as sRGB. So right here in our color space, you can see I'm selecting sRGB. Make sure that is in fact selected. It's going to be selected by default with Lightroom. So no problem if you haven't like dug into these settings, but this is where you want to find those settings to make sure they're going to display properly on the web. So we got to go back, hit that little checkbox up there. And now it's basically downloading this. So it's pulling this from the cloud. It's applying all of the settings that we changed to it. The cool thing here is this is a non-destructive way of editing. All right. And then here we can just go to save image, and then I'll be able to see this in my camera roll, and I can send this out to any form that I'd like. So I didn't, by the way, this entire time, I didn't destroy any information here. This is not permanently applying these edits to my image. I can still go back. In fact, if I press and hold on this image, I can see the before and the after. So we're going to go through and we're going to make a couple of different changes to these photos. Let's move into another photo. We want to take a look at our presets as well as our different versions, because there's a lot of power with that as well. And thanks so much for your questions here in the chat. It's so great to see everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Okay, now let's go ahead. I really love these photos here. I think they have like a beautiful, beautiful color and beautiful subject material. And I want to just kind of like work with the color just a little bit more. So down here on the very bottom, okay, we're going to go and edit. We want to go to our different versions. So right now, if I click on our versions, we just have one version, right? Let's go ahead and hit create a version here. There we go. New. Fantastic. And there we go. It applied that as our current. Now, let's say we want to do a little bit of a color edit. So I want to do a color grade on this. There we go. Let's bring our shadows. Fantastic. And we're going to do a little bit more of an edit with this one. There we go. Let's hit done. Now I want to go ahead and crop. So let's click on a crop up. This is, I think, like pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and I want to check a custom aspect ratio. So let's do 1:1, which is going to be a square. There we go. And just kind of like focus in a little bit more on our subject and hit that checkbox up there. I think this is fantastic. So we're going to go right here on the bottom to our versions, and then we're going to hit create version. Okay, and I'm just going to call this 02. So we're able to create multiple different versions, just like we did on the desktop. Now, if I want to go through these, I can click on, there's the new version that I created earlier. Here's 02. All right, and let's go back. I want to change the color a little bit more as well as our light. So let's go ahead. I want to bring our, you know what? I want to add a little bit of a vignette here too. So let's go ahead and add a mask. We're going to go to a radial gradient. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and click and drag there. I'm going to invert that. And then we're going to go to our light and bring this down a little bit. Okay, I like this a lot, but I think it's affecting my subject's clothing a little bit too much. So let's go ahead to that mask. There we go. I want to go ahead and subtract out from that mask, and we're going to go to select subject. So this is now going to create a vignette that's only visible on the background. This is so powerful editing tools. And this used to be only available in Photoshop, and even in Photoshop, it was relatively difficult to do this stuff, but now it's easier than ever. So let's go ahead and hit that checkbox, and I'm going to go ahead and bring my color. We're just going to do a little bit. I'm going to make this just a little bit cooler and go back into my color grading and work with my midtones a little bit. There we go. That's looking good, and hit done. And then now we can go back in here and take a look at our versions, and I'm going to create a new version. We'll just call this 03. I love this feature. So now check this out. I can see that version. I can see this other version that I just did, and I can kind of see where we started. So the nice thing now is, like, let's say you're working with a client and you want to kind of show your client these images. Well, I can go through and actually apply these, okay? So I can go through and I can export this out. There we go, export. And I'm just going to say export to camera roll. It's going to do a very quick setting. There we go. Boom, photo was properly exported. Now I'm going to go to my next version. There we go. And let's just go back. All right, versions. There we go. We got to hit that apply button, and then I'm going to export this out. So let's go to export to camera roll. So now let's say you're on the go and you want to send these images to your client. It's extremely easy. Both of those different versions are in my phone as well, but I still have my new untouched version. So if I hit my versions, I can still go back to my original. Look at that. Boom, hit apply, and we have all of this information that's paid off directly into this application. This is absolutely amazing. Now, another feature that I really love is that I can actually share all of these photos on the web. So without having to upload them to another server, I don't have to use Dropbox or any other service. Let's say after I'm done with a photo shoot, I want to send these images to my client, and they can decide which image they like. I can actually hit this plus icon right up there at the very top, and this is going to allow me to share and invite. So I'm going to hit allow, and then I can just type in an email. I'll just type in my own email address, and I can choose whether they can view, contribute, and can edit and contribute. Yeah, let's put edit and contribute. Sounds great. And I'm going to hit send. There we go. And then now this is sent to my client. So as soon as I'm done with my photo shoot, I can go edit all my photos just like I like on my phone or my computer, send them to my client. They can see them. It automatically creates a web page for them that they can interact with. And then I can even see their notes and their interactions on my mobile device. So the back and forth between the mobile workflow and the computer workflow is absolutely incredible. So let's go ahead. I'm going to just go back to my computer one more time just to show you how nice this integration is. There we go. So let's go ahead and back. We're going to go to our computer, hit share. All righty. There we go. So now we are sharing the screen on my computer, and you can see these updates have now taken place. They're automatically updated on my computer. So everything that I did on my mobile device, remember earlier, we edited this photo, okay? I can go back into my masking, okay? Remember, all of these masks, these were generated automatically because they were synced from the photo before. Remember, we edited this photo and then synced them from this photo. So I can go back and see all of these different features right here on my desktop again and get a better sense of what they look like. And then again, I can share them with my clients. So we're gonna go back to our main menu here, okay? I'm gonna go to my albums. Let's go ahead and click on this album so we can see all of the photos in this album, including all of the edits that I just made. There we go. Now, what I'm gonna do is hit Control or Command A to select all of these. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and share these. So I can click just the same way that I did on mobile. I can just go to get a shareable link. There we go. I can click on that, or I can email an invite to my contributors. And there we go. So not only are we able to edit our photos very easily on the desktop and have those changes automatically update on the mobile device, but now I can share them with my client from both platforms and view them. It's an incredibly easy workflow to go through. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for these last few days. It's been an absolute blast. And the fact that all of the edits that we've done on the desktop, like super powerful tools, are available on the mobile devices. Basically, how this works is it sends all your images to the cloud. And when you're editing either on the Lightroom desktop or Lightroom on mobile, it basically creates like a reference to the original image, but those changes are not permanent. So you can undo them at any time, you can change them at any time, and you don't have to worry. Let's say something were to happen to either your computer or your mobile device, because your images are automatically stored on the cloud, they're safe. This is a fantastic way, especially let's say you're traveling Go ahead, find your good internet connection, upload your photos to the cloud. That way you can rest easy. So if something happens to any of your physical devices, you won't lose your photographs. Thank you so much. I hope this has been helpful. It's been fantastic seeing everyone for the last 4 days. Be sure to check out Lightroom for the desktop and mobile. It's totally changed the way that I think about workflow. And for me, migrating from Lightroom Classic over to Lightroom means that I still have all the functionality that I love, but everything is available to me on the cloud. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.